And hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Shannon and I love rocks and gemstones, and rock tumbling is my very favorite hobby. And today I'm going to show you how to tumble obsidian. You can follow my entire journey from rough to this finished, polished process the entire way, so that if you're inspired to go get some obsidian rough and tumble it, you have a guide. And at the end, I'll give you my timeline and recipe that I used to get these lovely, shiny results. And I do use two pieces of equipment to tumble obsidian. I use a rotary tumbler while it's in the first coarse stage. And then I move the obsidian to a vibratory tumbler for medium, fine, extra fine, and polish. And the vibratory tumbler I use is the Raytech Tumble Vibe 5. It's not sponsored, it's just a smaller tumbler that's not very expensive, and it can hold small batches of rocks. So if you're a hobby tumbler, this is a good vibratory tumbler to get. And obsidian can be very challenging to tumble because it can be very fragile and is prone to chipping and bruising if it's not handled very delicately, which is why you'll see me using a thick sugar mixture in the tumble vibe to help cushion the gemstone from bruising and chipping while it's in the vibratory tumbler. And obsidian comes in lots of different types, and this actually is a batch that had some sheen obsidian, and this is silver sheen, and I had some gold sheen in this batch as well, and you'll see that when I show off the finished gemstones as well. So if you're interested in tumbling obsidian, then let's get started. Let me show you the rough. All right, something I haven't done yet on this channel, and I'm doing it today, is I want to learn from the obsidian lessons right away. And I want to see if I can do it better this time around. So I'm going to start another batch of obsidian. But you can see these are really large pieces, and they need to be much smaller, because that was one of the lessons learned, is that I put pieces that were too big in there. So I'm going to take these outside and I'm going to break them down into smaller portions and show you the sizes. I'm not going to show you the actual breaking up because I am terrified that rogue pieces would hit my camera and damage it. But you could see there are some that I pulled out from the previous batch that looked like they were going to break apart, and I didn't want to risk it, like that one broke apart and wrecked the obsidian last time. So I'm going to try it again right away so I can document a really good process. Today I'm starting some obsidian rough. I had really large pieces and I broke them up. And not everything is going into the barrel, but I just wanted to show you these little tiny slivers that you get when you're breaking up your own rock. And that can be dangerous, so be careful. But I have a nice barrel full of stones here. I have some pieces left over from a previous batch that I thought might break apart, so I'm just going to throw them in with this batch of rough right now. And I can see from these little chips here that we've got some gold sheen obsidian in this batch. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turns out and how much shine we get. All right, let me get this in a barrel with coarse. We're starting with a rotary barrel in coarse grit. And here is the batch of obsidian after 1 week in coarse. And this batch just has a ton of gold sheen pieces in it. I mean, ooh, look at that. Really impressive. There's some pieces here that have some white spots on them, and I think that might be bruising. But I'll add some more ceramic media to this, because this will be going back into coarse 1 more week.
while these no longer have their sharp edges, they do have some pits and crevices that I'd like to work out first before these go into medium grit. So, good start so far. I'm really excited. Yeah, look at all that gold sheen. I didn't realize when I was buying this batch that it would have so much of this in it. So excited. All right, well, let me get this back in the barrel with more ceramic media and back in coarse grit. Here is the obsidian after 2 weeks in coarse. And as I looked through this batch, it does look like it could use a little bit more smoothing. A couple of things I want to note is that there are a couple of pieces that look like they're just about to split apart. And what I'm going to do is actually chisel off some of these parts and put this back in coarse because, you know, there are a lot of other pieces in here that could be better. The second point is that I noticed these little white spots on some of the pieces, and I thought they might be bruising, but I was doing some research on snowflake obsidian to write a blog, and I read that the glass in obsidian isn't really stable, and at some point it starts to crystallize internally. And those crystallizations turn into the white spots in snowflake obsidian. So it looks like that's what's starting to happen here. Like some of these pieces are starting to crystallize and turn into snowflake obsidian. So I'm going to dig through here, find some pieces that might need a little chisel work, and get this back in coarse. Now the obsidian has just finished its 3rd week in coarse, and it's looking really smooth, although I have some gold sheen obsidian in there. I noticed here's a piece of silver sheen right there. So nice. And I did chisel down a few of these that looked like they had potential to break apart. And, oh look, there's another piece of gold sheen right there. And I can't seem to find the ones that I chiseled, so I guess those chiseled parts smoothed down really well. But I think that it's had enough time in coarse. And as soon as the tumble vibe is free, then I'm going to move this batch to the tumble vibe and start tumbling it with the sugar mixture so that we can get this nice and shiny. Love this batch of rough. This is a phenomenal batch of rough. All right, let's get this cleaned off. Today I'm taking up the obsidian and I'm putting it in the Raytech Tumble Vibe in medium grit, and this is what it looks like here. It's supposed to be filled, so I might have to put some more ceramic media in there. But 2 teaspoons of medium grit, 4 teaspoons of water, and I'll get this on the vibe, and it says check it every 12 hours. So we'll see if this takes care of the bruising that we got in the Rotary tumbler. The obsidian has been in the tumble vibe with medium grit for 2 days, and I took it out and rinsed it and looked at it, and you know, it's looking really nice. Of course, as you can see it drying out here, the surface still needs work before we get to polish. So I may leave it in fine grit for 2 days to try to smooth some more of this out. But so far it's looking good to progress. So yeah, super smooth. Loving that sheen on some of these pieces. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna wash these up really good and get them back in the tumble vibe with fine grit, and check on that tomorrow, check on that the next day, and see when it's good to move on to extra fine. Here's the obsidian after 48 hours in fine grit. And I dried one off and it's looking much smoother than it did coming out of medium grit. And I'm leaving these in for 48 hours because I really want these surfaces to be super smooth and prepared for polish. And then I will now put these in extra fine for just 24 hours. I think it only needs 1 day to get it ready for polish. But when I run something for 48 hours, I let it run the whole 24 hours with the 2 teaspoons of grit. And then I put 2 more teaspoons in at the 24-hour mark and let it run another day, so that it's getting the full 48 hours of that grit type. Because after the 24 hours, like, medium grit is not 120 anymore in that tumble vibe. And fine grit is not 500 grit at 24 hours. So I refresh it at the 24-hour mark. But let me get these back in the tumble vibe with 2 teaspoons of extra fine grit and 4 to 5 tablespoons of sugar. And this should get them nice and ready for polish. The obsidian has just finished 24 hours in extra fine grit. And, well, that piece does have a flaw right there. But other than that, this is looking really super smooth. I did dry off a piece really thoroughly, and there's no sign of bruising on it whatsoever. So that's really encouraging. And the surface looks really super smooth and ready for polish. So I'm gonna put these through a wash cycle to get them and the ceramic media super duper clean before I put them in a separate polishing barrel for the tumble vibe with aluminum oxide polish and the sugar mixture. So that's working out really, really well for the obsidian. It's keeping it from banging into each other and bruising the other stones. So, all right, let me get this washed up and into polish. The obsidian has been in the tumble vibe with polish for 3 days, and I did already take one out to check and see if it was ready to come out, and it looks like it is, but I'm still gonna check a few more here. And yeah, just to let you know, this sugar mixture is really sticky. Oh man, it is really sticky. So I'm gonna rinse one off, dry it off. And it's looking really good. No sign of bruising. My fingers are still a little wet, so there are some wet spots here, but yeah, there's a little bit of gold sheen in this one. But yeah, no signs of bruising whatsoever. Let me get it a little drier. I'll dry my fingers too. But yeah, super nice shine on them. All right, well, let me get these all washed up, and then I will show you the finished product.
thank you so much for joining me and watching my journey as I tumbled obsidian. This was not the first time I tumbled it, but it was the first time I got the process just right. And I hope it's an easy process for you to follow if you're really curious about tumbling any type of obsidian like mahogany or snowflake or Apache tears, rainbow obsidian. This process will work for all of them. But I hope that I've piqued your curiosity and that you find that tumbling obsidian might be a welcome challenge. And I am interested in hearing about your experiences tumbling obsidian. You can leave those in the comments below. And if you are a brand new rock tumbler or you're interested in starting, I do have an online Rock Tumbling 101 course, and I'll put the link to that in the description below. And that helps you determine what supplies you need, what tumblers there are out there, where you can get your rocks, and I show you in video every single step so that you can tumble a batch of stones from start to finish. And if you're interested in watching me tumble a wide variety of gemstones, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a single gemstone video. Thank you.